Welcome to DramaMeans. We're talking about the 2024 Japanese BL drama, Nijugoji Akasaka de. Today, drama means unrequited love, drama means lingering feelings, and drama means practice makes perfect.
So first, a little bit of a summary. When a young actor gets cast in a highly anticipated BL, his lack of real-world romance won't allow him to give a good performance. In order to explore his own emotions, he strikes up a fake relationship with his established co-star, hoping their experience together will transition to their on-screen chemistry. But soon, this work arrangement has both men catching feelings for realsies.
So this drama, when I first even heard about it, it seems so similar to another BL drama, another Japanese BL drama called I Became the Main Role of a BL Drama, which is kind of basically the premise of this one. This one just takes kind of a more serious tone rather than I Became the Main Role of a BL Drama. It was completely like a comedy, over the top.
It sounds like an anime title. It sounds like a title that would be an anime.
Yeah, it is based off of a manga. The I Became the Main Role of a BL Drama.
Right. Okay, so that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So I think there's a difference in terms of the two. I Became the Main Role of a BL Drama prioritizes comedy. And then I think Nijugoji Akasaka de prioritizes emotions and the actual relationship.
Well, we always talk about tone so much, right? Like how much tone matters. And I think this idea that you can take nearly the same story, but then put a different priority on it, is kind of a good representation of that, of like what tone actually means, because people talk about tone a lot and they don't necessarily know what, it really means. But like when you take a premise, so many times you could take a premise and make it comedy, or you could make it horror just by changing a few things and prioritizing a few things. You can take something that's very seriously romantic and make it action if you prioritize the action. And I think that as long as the shows kind of know what their priorities are and stick to them, then you can still end up with a good show. But it's when the filmmakers are getting confused about, wait, what are we doing? Are we doing an action comedy or a comedy action? Are we doing a romantic or are we doing a comedy romantic? And that can get a little muddy if you don't know how to stick to what you're trying to prioritize.
So I feel like I liked both of them. I thought I Became the Main Role of a BL Drama was very funny. I really enjoyed the comedy of it. It's very over the top. It has like that element of like this crazy fanatic, he's like a fanboy, mm-hmm. right? And so we kind of see this supposed, up and coming star, and his idol is actually his co-star, which is Hajime. It's just kind of different in terms of being a fanatic, whereas in Akasaka, he has an unrequited love. He has a crush on this guy that, like, the guy knows who he is, but doesn't even realize that they, like, have any kind of, like, interaction in college. To Shirasaki, Hayama is like this unreachable star, and he's like so far out of his league in terms of acting, in terms of like popularity and stardom, that there's no way in his mind that he could even be on the level of like talking to him.
Mm-hmm. It reminds me of that other one we watched that it was like the My Perfect Man. What was that? It was a Japanese Beautiful one too. Man. Beautiful Man, where he can't accept the other guy's love because he can't really even fathom why this dude would be interested in him.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely. And the character is very low self-esteem. And it's weird because he's low self-esteem, but he's very adamant about his ways. He's like super stubborn. But I guess, you know what? Yeah, in My Beautiful Man, he also is.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit he's very apologetic about his ways, but he is kind of like, I don't know, like a little set in the way he is as a person.
Yeah. So we kind of get elements of other characters that we've seen before. But for me, in Akasaka, it's weird because the first time I watched it, it was like as it was airing, so it was like a slow burn, and then every week you're watching one episode, and it doesn't feel like the relationship moves that fast. But then, as I rewatch it, it's like, oh, Hayama is very like proactive, and they're very like they're moving really fast. They're like, and it feels like they're dating for real. Even
from
though,
the beginning.
yeah, right from the beginning, the minute they're like, oh, let's do this thing, let's practice together, I guess. Their little fake.
Yeah, their practice relationship.
Yeah.
Or their rehearsing time.
Yeah. It just feels like, are you guys even rehearsing? Because it just feels like you guys are enjoying your dating life, and I feel like Hayama really had that, like, not that it was his plan, like he didn't scheme it or anything, but it just worked out in his favor.
I'm telling you what, like there's a tone version of this exact story that's also a horror movie about a like big star that makes his co-stars be in fake relationships because he's just so method. He's like, no, you have to be in a relationship. It's like, like you hear those stories about like Jim Carrey, and he was like Andy Kaufman the entire show, and it's like a method actor that requires his co-stars to like hang out with him all the time. That's the horror movie version of the story. They should do that one next.
There might be a manga out like that. Who knows?
It could be. I think for me, the romantic version of this, I don't. It's not to say I prefer the comedic version, but I do prefer when shows about the entertainment industry, like we talked about Ready Set Love, and that being kind of a satire on like reality shows and made a lot of political statements too. But when you exist kind of inside the industry, I much prefer those stories when you're also making fun of the industry. I find those to be a little better for me. When we start taking the filming too seriously, it just gets a little cringy to me of like, look how important this filming we're doing is. It's like, guys, we're making movies. Shut up. Oh, I have to make these emotions real. Shut up. You're just actors.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think what we're doing is that important to like make another movie about. So I have a little bit of trouble with some of these that are inside the industry, those types of shows. So I much prefer the comedic version because they can kind of poke fun at the ridiculousness of like having to do real emotions and then being in a fake relationship. Like, yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. No, not ridiculous.
I mean, yes. I mean, it's the thing is, I actually don't like fake relationships,
As a trope, you mean?
as a trope. The thing is, I'm like this one, and then also I'm watching that, the one I watched today, One D Good Day. It's also a fake relationship one, and I'm enjoying it like so much. So I don't even. It's like being a hypocrite because I hate like contract relationships.
No, those are the worst. Those are the
Yeah.
worst. I hate it when they sign a contract. I'm like, who? What lawyer is looking at this contract? Like, in what world are you like, we're going to sign a contract, and if you don't come through, my lawyers will sue you. You just picture the scene with the lawyer being like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So like contract relationships, fake relationships, I hate them. But in this one, like I get it. You know what I mean? Like they're well, at least in Shirasaki's mind, he like needs to work on his character for the show, for the BL that they're filming, and Hayama has ulterior motives. you know, um having like this long time crush on Shirasaki. But it feels natural when they develop it from their fake date at the aquarium to like cooking dinner at home and then always like going to each other's houses and like watching movies and watching like the new episode of their drama. And it's like natural in terms of like, oh, we're building a friendship, we're getting to know each other, we have feelings for each other. It goes smoothly. Whereas I feel like I became the main role of a BL drama. Like it was like very coerced because the director made them like move in together, and it was just very like uncomfortable at first, and then they were awkward because the other guy's like a fanboy, and then he's trying to hide like from like he was literally wearing the guy's like shirt, like face on his shirt, and then he had to zip up his like hoodie or whatever because he was hiding that shirt. And I'm like, why did you go over to his house with the shirt on? Like, fucking wear something else.
Well, he's so used to being the fanboy, it doesn't feel weird.
Uh-huh.
So he's like, this is just my normal wardrobe.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny, and honestly, when they actually start like getting to know each other and talking, like I thought that was really natural in the comedy version. And of course, like it's not exactly the same. They're not like the same story, but there are like a lot of similar elements in it. And in my opinion, Hajime from BL drama is more likable than Shirasaki, mainly because Shirasaki is very like, he has self-esteem issues. He's not confident about himself, but he's like also kind of angry, so he like blows up a lot in my opinion. And then and he's stubborn, but also like he just has this like chip on his shoulder kind of thing. And although he's still like likable in terms of how he gets along with Hayama, he seems very like he's on a short fuse. So there are a lot of times where I'm like, ugh.
He's the angry, quiet type.
He's not like, yeah, I guess so. He's like angry, nervous type.
He gave me a little bit of anxiety. I won't lie. Like some of the interactions between them when they're just kind of staring, not quite at each other in scenes. I'm like, say something. You guys talk to each other, please. The silence is killing me. My own anxiety is eating me up inside. Please further this relationship quicker.
Yeah, it's just the thing is the relationship actually was like very quick, like the development of it. But it's just
I'm more like within scenes themselves. Like they really drew out the pauses.
Yes.
And it does feel like that is kind of a Japanese romantic style, to really draw out the pauses and let all of the emotions land one at a time. And they're very methodical in it. But after a while, I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone needs to talk faster. They need to walk faster. They need to make eye contact with each other. Stop looking at the ground while you speak to them. Like, please, y'all, connect with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it and I enjoyed it, and I watched it every I believe it was like Thursday at the time, like every Thursday morning it was like available to watch on Gaga Ulala. And I enjoyed it, but honestly, it didn't really hit where I'm like the emotions like really felt heavy. Was when Shirasaki decided that he wanted to pull away from this fake relationship, and he's like, "Oh, I know I have a grasp on the character now. We don't need to do this anymore." So he started like putting that distance between them. That was when I was like, I felt so bad for Hayama,
mm-hmm.
And that's when I really was like attracted to this drama.
At what point does that happen? That happens pretty late, right?
So the drama's like 10 episodes. I think it was like 6 or 7 when it happened.
Right, so that's kind of their like climax of their relationship, or the relationship arc story is kind of arcing at that point.
Yeah. So like it was just okay, I'm watching it in the beginning, the first half, and then in the second half is where I'm like, oh, I'm intrigued, I'm invested. And then I was like, then Thursday couldn't come fast enough.
I mean, that's a good thing that because we've watched so many that kind of start fizzling around episode 7, 8, and you're like, oh, can we wrap this up already?
Yeah.
And if they can find a way to gain momentum going into the kind of, home stretch of episodes, at least it feels like the show is then paced out correctly, as long as they don't lose you in the beginning, not going fast enough.
Yeah. I think they really did the beginning where like their date, it was like cute and sweet. And then emotional towards the end. So I think that it's kind of a good build, structure wise. It is slow and methodical, very drawn out. It has that kind of indie art house feel to the drama, whereas BL drama or main lead of BL drama, um, it it's so like brightly lit, it's like comedic, and it's like, production value wise, it's like it feels like more low budget.
Yeah, a little cheaper.
Yeah.
This felt like they were trying to also cast the mood with the filmmaking and not just with the subject matter.
Yeah. So, if I mean, I liked both, but if I had to vote, I think I lean more towards the emotional Akasaka rather than main lead of BL drama. Like, it's just,
It's more your speed.
it's, you know, I still have, like, even though I've moved away from, like, that indie film, like, that's what I used to watch a lot. So, like, even though now my patience is not as as high as it used to be, um, I still like certain indie stuff and like the cinematography, a lot of nothing happens, and I'm okay with that.
Of course you're okay with that. That was your bread and butter for so long. Like Mel's playlist of shows and movies and TV that goes nowhere. What's this one called? They sit in a dimly lit room. That's what it's called.
Um, I wasn't really, I've never really been a blockbuster person. And I'm like, yes, I like action adventure, but like, I'm not as huge on explosions as you are.
They don't need to be explosions. I feel like you're oversimplifying my taste. I like good story. I like good characters. I like good character development. But development being the key word, things have to develop and move forward. And I don't really love movies or shows where at the end you kind of go, huh, yeah, huh. Like, what am I supposed to feel about that? I watched some people kind of hang out together. Huh, okay. Like, those aren't my favorites. I like to go, oh, I really like what they did there, or oh, that sucked. But the kind of middle ground of like, I'm not even sure what we watched there just throws me off
I've moved on somewhat
somewhat.
from that. Shut up. Just shut up.
No, but it makes sense. I mean, when you're talking about over the top comedy version, like that, and the fact that you're saying the production value wasn't quite as good, you do kind of lean into it, the whole thing being a little cheesy, the whole thing being a little cheap. And not saying cheap in a bad way, it's just not really all that deep. It doesn't make you feel that much other than a good chuckle. So if the emotions are hitting for you in this, especially as it comes into the kind of home stretch of episodes, it makes perfect sense that you go, oh, I identify with this because it actually did make me feel something. That makes perfect sense to me, as much as I give you crap about the indie thing.
Yeah. Remember in the first episode, Hayama stops Shirosaki from like hooking up with some other dude, right? And I was like, God, it's so weird that he's like there. It's like too coincidental and like coerced. And then I like that in the end, it explains it's kind of like in Cherry Magic when Kurosawa kind of goes and explains his side of the story and like remembers his like 7-year crush on Adachi. So in this one, Hayama, it shows like how he first encountered Shirosaki, the people that he hung out with in that I don't know if it's a film club or like an acting club, something like that. But like his friend actually was the bartender in that bar that Shirosaki had went to. And so he texted Hayama and was like, "Hey, your boy's here." And then Hayama like freaking bolted to like go save the day. It justifies why he was like there at the same time as Shirosaki.
Yeah, it was started off as a coincidence. They kind of used it as a reveal later. So they actually used that piece and not just, we'll just live with the coincidence and it'll just be a little weird that he showed up at the right time.
I liked the reveal of him, like, well, we all knew that he had a crush on him. They gave you enough hints and like dropped enough foreshadowing that the audience knew that Hayama already had a crush on Shirosaki. It was like very obvious. I liked that we were able to see that firsthand of like how he fell for him, and like the one thing that Shirosaki had said to Hayama, and basically like Hayama was not going to go into acting. He was going to just like graduate and go find a job somewhere, and it was Shirosaki was like, "You're the best actor, you can't quit." Like that would be so disappointing. And then he realized, actually, I really do like acting. So then he went into acting and he became like a pretty well-known actor.
This is the setup of Cherry Magic too. Like all these shows feel like I'm just like, are all these shows exactly the same? Because like I have a crush on this guy, and then but he would never like me. Oh wait, he also likes you. Like that's the setup of those three shows. And Cherry Magic, I kind of forgot Cherry Magic's. I think it kind of blurs into the other one for me. It blurs into the
You're
Your
beautiful,
Beautiful
or
Man,
my
His
beautiful
Beautiful Man,
man.
or whatever
Yeah.
it's called. But their relationships are so similar to me that it's kind of the guy who kind of keeps to himself. He keeps his head down, and oh, I like this person, but they'll never like me. And then the other person likes them, and you don't quite understand why they like them, and then they kind of reveal it to you, and you're like, oh, that now makes sense to me. It's almost structured similarly.
Yeah.
Is this just Cherry Magic Part 2, 3, 4? They wanted to do another remake, but Japan had already done Cherry Magic. So like, we can't do that again.
I'm not sure if I you know what? I think Akasaka is based off of something also. It's just there's so much content out there.
Oh, of course, there's going to be similarities in this kind of genre,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's not by accident. Just I was surprised how similar it started sounding as you were talking. I'm like, are we talking about Cherry Magic? Or are we talking about this one right now?
Yeah. I do have to say their like romantic tension and their sexual tension is so like tight that I think that's what really like drew me in, was like that tension between them. And it doesn't really hit until well, it actually hits before he claims that he wants to stop doing the fake romance thing. But yeah, that I think mainly that was the big pull in why I like Akasaka more than BL drama.
Well, a show like this kind of lives or dies on that romantic or sexual tension. Like, if you don't buy it, you're in a world of hurt in a show like this. Like, we've seen it so many times where a premise that should work, if there's no chemistry between your leads or you don't buy that they're really into each other, this one, it's weighing so heavily on it that if it doesn't work, you're in a lot of trouble as a show. Like, you kind of got to pack up and go home and refigure it out. I mean, they would recast that if they weren't feeling it in the first couple episodes, going, is this going to work? Are these two going to feel for each other? Are we going to buy that they're like totally into each other? And the fact that it works for romantic and sexual tension, I think, is actually very difficult for actors to actually nail both of those things.
Yeah.
Like I've been on set where actors have a lot of romantic tension, and the second they kiss, it just disappears. And you're like, oh no, they're not hot together. They're cute together. They're not hot together. It's a really hard thing to do.
I know who you're talking about.
No, you don't.
Anyway, I think that is definitely the pull for me. One of the main things that I have a hard time with is Shirasaki's character. That's probably my main dislike of the whole drama.
Which is tough. He's the lead.
I know.
It's a big hurdle.
He's the main lead because it follows him.
Yeah, it's his story.
Yeah. I don't know. He's just not that nice.
He's a brooding actor. Have you ever met actors before? They've got a lot going on.
Yeah. So he does have some anger issues and some low self-esteem, and I understand it. Like, when you're just not confident about yourself, you have this chip on your shoulder, and then you're like, and you don't want other people to look down on you because you yourself are already looking down on yourself. But I get it. I get the character. It was just harder for me to, like, pull for him because I'm like, fucking get your act together.
Get confident, stupid.
Shut up.
Hi, I'm Troy McClure.
Yeah. So, also, though, he's so, like, this is the most frustrating thing. And it's like in every single drama, it's just frustrating when they don't fucking talk to each other and immediately, like, just jump to conclusions. But this one is so, like, far into jumping conclusions where it's just, like, not even. It's like, come on, just fucking ask him a damn question.
Yeah, the not communications is your massive pet peeve. Like, you hate it when characters that should be talking to each other don't.
Yeah, and I feel like it should be everyone's pet peeve, and it might be everyone's pet peeve, right? But, like, it's just like,
I think you have a tolerance level for it because sometimes we don't communicate in relationships, whether it's friendships or family members or people you're in romantic relationships with. Human beings aren't always the best at communicating because there's a lot of stuff going inside our head and there's a lot of conclusions you jump to and there's self-esteem and insecurities and all that. So you have to really be on board with what's going on in the character's head to give them a pass to say, oh, I understand why he's not just saying, I love you, or not just saying, I don't want to be with you, or whatever he needs to be saying. You have to give them an emotional pass. And if they haven't drawn that out, then it's just frustrating. And I do think that line exists for everyone in a different place. Because some people, oh, he was sad, so he didn't want to say it. It's like, that's not a good enough excuse, you know?
it's just that even if Shirasaki thought that Hayama had someone that he's interested in or is in love with, right? Someone that he can't get over. Clearly, that person is not actually in his life. Otherwise, it's not that he can't get over, It's like they're there, right? The thing is, they're trying to, like, randomly say that, like, he has a rumored, like, he's dating some other actress or whatever.
Right, someone who's not like in the scene because then that would affect the publicity of the movie or in the ship and all that stuff.
Yeah. But it's like, he's been so fucking nice to you in every single way. Like, he literally bends over backwards for you. And you can't even, like, stand to be like, what's up with you and this person? It's just like, he automatically is like, I don't feel comfortable, so I'm gonna just do it my way. Whereas, like, it's like a very kind of selfish, like,
immature.
Yeah, it's immature. And I know he has no experience romantically in any way, but it's just kind of like, fucking say something. But to the point where, like, they literally, like, finish the drama, they're done filming, and he goes over to Hayama's house, packs up, they have sex. They have sex, right? And after they have sex, he fucking leaves, and it's like, well, Hayama's so nice, he fulfilled my one last wish, and now I'm just gonna fucking leave without saying goodbye. And I'm like, come on, motherfucker, like, really?
What scene were they rehearsing after the show's done? That's part of the horror movie version. Hey, we've got one more scene to rehearse back at my house tonight. Oh, I thought the drama was over. Nope. We have your big debut coming up.
Yeah. So it's just like, come on, guys. Like, can you stop living in your head and maybe think of your the other people around you and the other person you're interacting with? Like,
I think for me, it becomes when you're using the miscommunication as the not just but the source of drama, and everything could be cleared up with a 5-minute conversation. That's when I start to get a little neurotic when it comes to stuff like that. Like, and that's for like romantic stories. That's for big epic action stories. Like, wait a minute, if you would have sat down and had a 5-minute conversation, half this movie wouldn't have happened.
yeah.
And I don't like it when they're drawing the source of drama just from that. And that irks me. And I think that's where you hit it a lot of times too, of like, no, this could be so easy and you're making it so difficult. So are you just making it difficult so we have something to watch? Or is this actually a good story to be told?
So I think my biggest pet peeve is actually not trusting someone. Like, if you claim that you like someone or love someone so much and you've spent enough time with them to know what kind of person they are, and then the next thing is like, I don't trust them, and immediately like am so ready to like abandon, that's my biggest pet peeve.
Well, it explains why your favorite thing in the world is like the team coming together. Like 5 people that have a common goal, who always have each other's back through thick and thin. Scooby-Doo gang, here we go. Like, that's your ultimate favorite, so that makes perfect sense.
Loyalty and trust is my ultimate favorite in any romantic relationship, any friendship, any kind of relationship. Loyalty, trust, 100% the most important.
Especially when it's unspoken.
Yes.
Especially when the characters don't have to say it to each other.
Yes.
So here, when the characters aren't saying the things to each other, and instead of trusting each other, they're jumping to conclusions and they're letting their insecurities eat them alive, we're getting to the core root of the problem here.
Yeah. So that's one of my biggest things is Shirasaki.
But another big thing, I mean, we could talk about it, is as much as he's the main character.
Yeah.
Useless side characters are also a pet peeve of yours.
You know, like, literally, you could do this whole drama without anyone else of like any other character, and they pretty much like. So in BL drama, they're the 2 co-stars are like the 4 of them are like kind of close, and they're very like helpful. At least what I remember of it when I watched it, I remember liking the gang more, and like the side characters are like more like they do something in the drama. Also, like the managers of the 2 actors in BL drama, like that one, um, were more helpful. They like worked together. They knew what their actors were going through, and like and they're just like kind of like a support group for them, right? Whereas in Akasaka, like those characters are so like you barely see them. They're barely talking, and even when they try to like make the 2 co-stars go drinking with each other, it's just so very like surface, and you're like, oh yeah, they're not their friends. You know what I mean? Whereas in BL drama, it's like, oh, they're all friends.
Right. It's a bit of who cares.
Yeah. So it's like, why? Like, yeah, you have to have them because you can't just have the 2 people in the drama because they are filming like a whole drama together or whatever. But like, it's just useless characters. It's just like very like NPC, like one note, doesn't really matter if they even exist or not.
Yeah, and again, we talked a little bit about in Ready, Set, Love how they did such a good job of going through and giving virtually every character, not every single character, but pretty much, wants and goals and defined character traits. And they 100% cared about every single character throughout the show. So when you see a show that doesn't do that, and you go back to this kind of one-note cardboard cutout, someone for the leads to bounce a line or a feeling off of every once in a while. Like, that's why they're there, so that the leads have someone else to talk to beside the lead every once in a while. And then to aid in the miscommunication and all that kind of thing. But when it's one note, it's very difficult to have any rooting interest in any scene they're in. What were we watching the other day? And I was like, oh, you could fast forward every one of these scenes that has, anytime you cut away from the leads, we're like, why are these people in scenes? Who are they? I couldn't even remember who they were in each scene because it was so beside the point. But it's just when you feel yourself reaching for the fast forward button when the other character on screen, they've not done something right in that regard.
So how did you like them going from a part where they're rehearsing and it cuts to they're actually filming the scene?
I appreciate the attempt, I think, because obviously they're trying to make the one-to-one transition that their fake relationship translates to on-screen chemistry or translates to on-screen emotion. So he's learning something in real life in a fake relationship that is now going to translate to the real relationship in the fake world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's kind of this weird symmetry. I can't say I love it just because it feels a little obvious. It feels a little hacky.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the attempt, but also those scenes always feel so clunky to write because how do you make them make sense for both the real world interaction and what the characters are going through and make it consistent? Because if it was written really, really well, their fake relationship would be very, very consistent from A to B. And then their on-screen relationship would arc in the same type of way. And they would be speaking in metaphor. And the metaphor would work for both sides. And in this, it felt like the drama that they're filming is only there to service the romance that they're having in the real world.
Yeah.
Also, just in a technical perspective, they should just be running lines. I don't know why they're making out and having sex all the time. They should just be running lines. That's all they should be doing. Just go to each other's apartment, run some lines. Acting is acting. You don't actually have to fuck each other. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Also, you don't even need to go to each other's apartments. You literally can meet at a cafe or whatever.
Those love scenes get real. Love scene rehearsals will get real awkward in the cafe. Excuse me, sir, you can't do that in here.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's more I don't like that they have these random scenes in this BL drama that they're supposedly filming, and it doesn't feel cohesive as a story. It just only services their off-screen relationship.
Yeah, exactly. If it was written really well, you should understand the relationship on screen, quote unquote, as much as you understand their relationship in their private moments.
Yeah.
And it should grow in a similar pace, and it should be a metaphor for each other, and it should basically be a mirror. You can hold up the mirror, and both stories make complete, cohesive stories. And it doesn't feel like that. It feels like one story is servicing the other, and that's it.
Yeah.
I would also like to talk a little bit about this mystique of acting that annoys me a little bit, because in real life, acting is a skill like anything else. Yes, there are very talented and natural and charismatic people in the world, but acting is a skill just like building a house is a skill, just like driving a car is a skill. Like, acting is a profession, and actors go to school and study it. And sometimes it's portrayed, and this happens to writers too, where they say, well, write what you know. And you're like, okay, so I grew up in the Midwest to a family of farmers. Am I only allowed to write farming stories? So no, you go and you learn how to write. You learn how to construct story. You learn the craft. The same thing actors. Actors learn the craft. So when they get a role, they don't look at the role and go, I've never been an astronaut. I better go be an astronaut now so I can play this astronaut role.
Or you don't just go and hire an astronaut. Or maybe your story is about a serial killer. You don't go and be like, "Whoa, I need to cast a serial killer in order to play a serial killer."
Or I need to go and murder people to become a serial killer. It's just there's this mystique that they like to put on acting that says that you have to experience something in order to play it on screen. But that's not how acting is done, and that's not how acting is taught. Acting is taught through how do you convey emotions, and it's taught through parallels and metaphors. So you don't actually have to murder someone to understand the psyche of a murderer, to understand how it may be portrayed. Like Adam Driver said it really well in an interview that I'd seen not too long ago, and he said, it's not my job as an actor to feel things. It's my job to make the audience feel things. So as long as I can get there, maybe I'm thinking about, purple penguins, and that just makes me have a perplexed look on my face. It doesn't matter what I feel. It matters what the audience perceives of my performance. And so this idea that you have to feel in love to be able to play in love, you have to feel heartbreak to play heartbreak, isn't really true. And I don't always love how it's so romanticized, because it's just, A, it's bullshit, and B, it's like, no, that's not really how acting works at all. Like you would workshop these scenes with an actor. You would talk about how you can portray these emotions. Oh yeah, you wanna like have a painful look on your face? Put a tack in your shoe. Literally. Stuff like that. It's tricks. It's so as much as I understand what the show is trying to do, I'm a little bit like, all right, hold on. Let's just at the very end, let's say that's not how it works. But okay, fine.
Yeah. Anyway, so my rating for this drama is Onboard Karaoke.
I can rate this stepping out to get fresh air, and that has nothing to do with the drama. It has to do with my personal anxiety of too much silence. Just too many silence, too much not talking. So, nothing against y'all, but stepping out to get fresh air.
Okay.
So our recommendation this week is a movie from 2006 starring David Duchovny called The TV Set, where he plays a television writer who gets basically his dream come true. His pilot is bought and is going to be made by a major studio. And this is one of the hardest movies to watch if you've ever worked in the film and entertainment business, because it is so real to what you go through trying to be a creative in a business filled with posturing and fake people and horrible human beings and people who all take ownership of the thing that you created. So kind of like the opposite of, well, that's not really how acting works. This is very much how writing works, to the point it's very painful to watch. It is. I've seen it one time and I could never bring myself to watch it again. But it is so well done, and David Duchovny's amazing in it. Sigourney Weaver's amazing in it. So check that out. I don't exactly know. You can probably stream it somewhere, or go find it on DVD, because why not? It's from 2006. You should be watching it the way the filmmakers intended.
Okay. Well, that is it for us. We will see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.